Hey Browns fans, Nathan Zegura here with the cornerback position preview edition of the 2-Minute Drill, brought to you by University Hospitals. I'm already smiling, and that's because this room is absolutely loaded. The Browns last year, all three corners, their top three, Greedy Williams, Greg Newsome, and of course Denzel Ward, graded in the top 29 in the entire NFL in terms of coverage grade last season. There are only two teams in the NFL that can make that claim, the Browns and the Buffalo Bills. And the best part is, all three are back for the Browns this year. That's your starting trio. When you're in a two cornerback set, you're going to have Greg Newsome and Denzel Ward. When the Browns get into their nickel packages, which they are in, basically it is the base defense, Greedy will come in and Greg Newsome will kick inside to the slot. But it all starts with Denzel Ward, of course, the premier cornerback of your Cleveland Browns, a two-time Pro Bowler. Got that recognition last year as well. Had 3 interceptions to tie for the team lead. He's had double-digit pass breakups in every single season that he has been in the National Football League. And as a result, the Browns rewarded him with a huge contract extension earlier this offseason that made him, at the time, the highest paid cornerback in the National Football League. And Ward has many, many accolades. I thought this one was pretty interesting, though. Since 2008, he is first in the entire NFL with 6 games with 3 or more pass breakups. And last year, how could we forget? 99-yard pick 6 against the Cincinnati Bengals, leading to a big Browns win down in Cincinnati. That was the longest return touchdown on an interception that year in the NFL. Joining him on the other side, and then sometimes next to him in the slot, will be Greg Newsome. The Browns' first-round pick in 2021 out of Northwestern had a very strong rookie season. Newsome would appear in 12 games with 11 starts. He had 9 pass breakups. He was named to both the Pro Football Focus and the Pro Football Writers Association of America all-rookie teams. Last year, he was the number 26 overall quarterback at Pro Football Focus, number 22 in coverage grade. And when he was in the slot, which is where we're going to see him quite a bit this year, he allowed just 0.93 yards per coverage snap. That was 5th best in the NFL amongst all nickel corners. That was the first time he had done it in his life. He didn't do that in college. He was on outside at Northwestern, so he has an opportunity to take an even bigger leap here in year 2. And so the other starter in this group, it is Greedy Williams, entering the final year of his rookie contract, a former second-round pick of the Browns who missed the entire 2020 season with a nerve injury in his shoulder. He was able to return last year. He learned a lot about himself as a fighter, a man who could persevere, and had a big impact for the Cleveland Browns. Greedy, who played the whole season in a restrictive harness, by the way, that's gone headed into 2022, appeared in 16 games with 8 starts. He had 2 interceptions, and his 10 pass breakups were tied with Denzel Ward for the most on the team. Both, by the way, were career highs. He had a huge interception against the Vikings in his first start following that injury suffered in 2020. And what did he do? He went out and got an interception in a big Browns win, due in large part to a great defensive performance. Last year, he allowed just a 71.7 quarterback rating when targeted, allowed only 1 touchdown all year, and did not give up a single pass play of more than 40 yards. The Browns feel great about this starting trio, but they weren't done at that position. Andrew Berry says you can't have enough good corners. So the Browns went into the 2022 NFL Draft, and with their first pick of the draft in the 3rd round, number 68 overall, they selected MJ Emerson out of Mississippi State. Emerson possesses a great combination of size, length, and speed, standing 6'2", 201, and he's a perfect outside cornerback in the Browns' press man and cover 3 scheme due to his 33-inch arms, able to get them on wide receivers and reroute them effectively. He was so good in coverage in the SEC at Mississippi State that opponents targeted him on just 13% of his coverage snaps, the lowest in the entire conference. And so MJ Emerson is a guy who has sticky coverage. In fact, his defensive back coach Jeff Howard said, you watch him, he can just stick on the hip of his receivers. As he and I went through the Browns breakdown, which you can check out at youtube.com/Browns, you can watch him lock down Jameson Williams, who was the first receiver taken in the 2022 NFL Draft. This kid is smart, he is tough, he is accountable, he's exactly what the Browns wanted, and he's had a great offseason, and I think MJ Emerson is the first man up should anything happen to the starting trio, and I do think he will push Greedy Williams ultimately for playing time this season. It should also be noted he's getting some training as the dime defender as well in some of the Browns DB packages, which means he could be a bigger at 6'2" man coverage guy on a tight end, say like Mark Andrews, who's been the leading receiver for the Baltimore Ravens basically every every year that he has been there. So those are your top 4, but the Browns really have a fantastic 5 because A.J. Green, the former undrafted free agent out of Oklahoma State, really played well in 2021, and I think bigger things are lying ahead for that young man who came into the league with a chip on his shoulder after going undrafted and showed why last year. A.J. Green at 6'2", 198, he's got great size and he's got great instincts, and he was incredibly productive in limited snaps last year. He only played 176 snaps for the Browns, but he was the second highest graded defender on the team behind only Myles Garrett, according to Pro Football Focus. He had the team's highest coverage grade. Think about this, 176 snaps. He had 1 interception and 6 pass breakups, which were 4th most on the team. That interception, by the way, a nice little feather in AJ's cap, was against Ben Roethlisberger. He's the last Cleveland Brown to ever intercept Ben Roethlisberger. By the way, he also recovered 2 fumbles this year, so he just kind of has a nose for the football. So that's your top 5. I think those guys are set on this roster. So who else could end up in the cornerback room for the Cleveland Browns? And we'll start with Herb Miller. Miller, a second-year player from Florida Atlantic. He's got good size as well, standing 6'1", weighing over 200 pounds. He spent 2021 with the Browns, appearing in 9 games, mostly on special teams, and he had 5 special teams tackles. He is well-liked in the locker room, and his team's prowess gives him an advantage here trying to make this roster in that 6th cornerback spot. Other names to keep an eye on, you've got a young man, Sean Jolly, an undrafted free agent out of Appalachian State, who was a 3-time All-Sun Belt Conference first-team performer. You have Reggie Robinson II, a former 4th-round pick of the Dallas Cowboys in 2020. He was first-team All-AAC in 2019, his final year at Tulsa in college. He's appeared in 5 career games only on special teams, and the Browns claimed him off of waivers early this May. And finally, there's Parnell Motley, a former undrafted free agent out of Oklahoma, who signed with Tampa Bay and made their initial 53-man roster. He's appeared in 4 career games with 1 start, racking up 8 tackles, 1 pass breakup, and 1 fumble recovery. Much of that playing time came with the Denver Broncos. So a combination of some youth, a guy in Herb Miller who's been in the program for a year, and then some veterans who are trying to kind of find a permanent home here in the NFL. But for the Browns, your top 2 may be as good as any duo in the league. Your top 3 may be as good as any trio in the NFL. Heck, the stats back that up. And now you add MJ Emerson, the ascent of A.J. Green, and the Browns have 5 corners that Jeff Howard and Brandon Lynch can feel very good about in that room. For the other Browns position previews, as well as our Browns breakdown on MJ Emerson, check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Browns. And for the latest news, keep tuned to cleanbrowns.com and the Browns mobile app. This has been a look at the Browns' loaded cornerback room here. It's a position preview edition of the 2-Minute Drill, brought to you by University Hospitals.